Thanks for accepting me, Mom.
What I'm saying is thanks for accepting me.
Hi, my name is Adam J. Feldberg, and it was through working on Pride Day that I became familiar with PFLAG. It's because of PFLAG's wonderful work that I felt the need to create this documentary.
My name is Michael Holenka. I'm the writer and director of Thanks for Accepting Me, Mom. When I got into this project, I'd never heard of PFLAG before, but the more I know about it, and the more people, the PFLAG members I meet, the more I think it's a really worthwhile organization and one that deserves everyone's support.
Hello, my name is Marilyn Byers, and I'm president of PFLAG York Region.
Hi, my name is Grant Reynolds, and I'm treasurer of PFLAG York Region.
Hi, my name is Lorraine Skitterell, and I'm the secretary of PFLAG York Region.
My name is Marge Noble. I was a volunteer at the PFLAG York Region tent on Pride Day.
Hi, my name is Mary Louise Noble.
My name is Jill Gray.
My name is Joanne.
Who would have thought after all these years I could face my fears out on my own, far from my home, leaving the past.
PFLAG stands for Parents, Families and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. PFLAG York Region, as in all the other PFLAG groups, has the main criteria of doing education and support in the community. PFLAG is an international organization, and it's a non-profit volunteer organization. We have over 400 chapters in the US and 32 in Canada, with 16 in Ontario, and still growing, the latest being in Simcoe County.
I got involved with PFLAG because of my friend Marilyn Byers. I just wanted to see what it was like. I had never actually heard about PFLAG, and I thought that gay people, when I did hear about it, could not be involved in it, but I found out that there was another gay person who was involved in PFLAG York Region, so I went to a meeting and I was really impressed. I saw a 16-year-old, I teach high school, and I saw a 16-year-old boy with both of his parents there completely accepting him as gay. And I thought, wow, this is what I should have had when I was young. My life could have been so different. It really just sent shivers up and down my spine. And then eventually I got involved as treasurer of PFLAG, and I find it just the most valuable kind of thing for educating people and overcoming homophobia.
I think I first knew that I was a lesbian when I was probably about 12, 13. My father, bless him, but he's a redneck. He's very homophobic. He's very phobic about anything that's different. And he kind of figured things out and asked me when I was 14 if I was gay. And I remember at that time being horrified because he told me that if I was gay, that he would send me away and that we could fix this. And at that time, of course, I didn't think I had any choice. So I said no, that I wasn't. That was probably the first time when I really had to lie, had to think about it, and had to make a conscious choice to lie, to protect myself.
People ask me, how did you find out about Kevin being gay? And, well, it happened about 6 years ago. I was at Kevin's place for dinner, and I was in the room where there was a Sunquest magazine on the bed. And I said to Kevin, are you going on a trip? And he said, well, yes, I am, as a matter of fact. I'm going on a trip to Mexico. Oh, are you going with a friend? Well, yes, I am, as a matter of fact. I said, oh, is it male or female? And he said, well, I guess by now you know I'm gay.
I have 3 daughters who I love very much. One of my daughters is a lesbian. Do you remember when I first found out? It was about 16 years ago. All the rest of the family knew about Mary Louise, but not Mama. But inwardly, I suspected. I don't know. I can't tell you how or why I suspected, but it did come as a shock anyway. And for quite a long time, I had trouble with it, although I never stopped loving her. Oh, I sat around all day, thinking it was my fault. Being gay was my fault or the family's fault. And then, I don't know, I started to, Mary Louise was involved with Pride Day, and I started to be a volunteer. I was security, and then I moved a notch up and worked for PFLAG York Region at the 10th this past Pride Day, and I hope to continue to do so.
I think actually when I came out, I made a decided choice not to tell my family. I waited for them individually to come to me and to ask me. I figured that if they were ready to ask me, then they were ready to hear that I was in fact a lesbian. And my sisters found out first, my father asked me, and my mother was the last to know, and it was actually my dad who told my mom. And I know that was really difficult for my mom, because as moms generally do, I think at some level they internalize it and think that somehow they've created that. And my mom has been really, really accepting of all my girlfriends, and I've had a few relationships, and it's been really, really wonderful. And about 3 years ago, I think my mother took another step, and it was much more of an active participant in my life, in terms of my gay life, and that's when she actually volunteered for Pride Day and has done so for the last couple of years, and is very accepting of my girlfriend Jill.
But one thing that happened when I was, I guess, about 21, my father, we were away in Florida, and that's when I came out to him. And he again asked me if I was gay. I think he asked me. Anyway, he insinuated, and this time I had the courage to tell him that I was. Am I allowed to swear? I told him that we were fighting, we were screaming and yelling at each other. And I told him that I was the biggest effing dyke that he would ever know. It's not exactly the way I had planned to tell him, but that's the way it came out. All of those years of thinking about, God, how am I going to tell my parents, and how are they going to deal with it, and how are they going to accept it? And that's the way I told them. And my mother was shocked. She had no idea, even though, the topic had come up before when I was a kid, and there's rumors about me having girlfriends and the whole bit. She had no clue. And I couldn't believe that. But I remember I left that night after I told him, and my mom, she just hugged me and just told me that she loved me. She said, things will never be the same. And I just looked at her and I said, no, you're right, they'll be better.
I met Marge about 4 or 5 months ago. Mary Louise set up a meeting, and I remember being extremely nervous about the meeting because I was meeting a mom, and that was sort of a loaded issue for me.
And I was nervous too.
Right, and I had come out to my own mom about 6 years ago, but there's still some difficulties with my family, so I think I sort of traded them over onto Marge. But when we met, she was very accepting, and actually I've met the whole family now and feel very, very close. They're a wonderful family, and they've done a lot of growing over the past little while, and it's really neat for me to see a mother and daughter whose bond is so strong.
And now I've got 4 daughters.
My son ran away from home when he was 17 years old, and I think the saddest part of him running away was the mere fact that he wasn't comfortable to be able to tell his family and friends that he was gay. He left a note under his pillow, and he took off and fled to the United States. And I was actually left devastated. I had nowhere to turn, and I called York Region Mental Health Association, and they put me in touch with Marilyn Byers. And I didn't know at the time that Marilyn Byers was the president of PFLAG. And she has since got me involved with PFLAG, where I've had an opportunity to meet other gay people and other gay parents and share their experiences, and I've become much more comfortable with the situation, thanks.
And then I said to Kevin, will you be going to church? Because we were a church-oriented family. And so what'd you say, Kevin?
Well, I said that there are some churches that I was interested in checking out, and one of them was the Metropolitan Community Church of Toronto. And Mum was interested in if I was going to be attending a Catholic church, and I said, well, I don't think that would be my first choice, but I am very interested in checking this other church out. Well, as you know, Mum's full of questions, so apparently, while I was on my trip to Mexico, she checked out the church.
One day, she called me up and said, asked me if I'd ever heard of PFLAG. And I said, yeah. I remember being at the Gay Pride Parade and seeing the PFLAG float. It wasn't really a float, just people walking, and thinking how amazing it was that these parents could be so supportive and be that supportive that they'd actually come out and walk in a parade. It was amazing. So when after she asked me if I'd heard of PFLAG, she told me that she was going to join. And I just started to cry. I just couldn't believe that she wanted to. It was great. So anyway, now she's in PFLAG in Port Elgin. I don't know, it's Grey Bruce PFLAG. And she goes to her meetings every week and she tells me about it. And it's funny to see the change in her, because now when she sees other people going through a rough time about everything, her attitude is, I don't understand what the big deal is.
You know what I always laugh about? We always laugh about, like, you know, it's funny, like what a lesbian hug is, like, hug. And I don't know, straight girls, they do these A-frame hugs.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
they kind of like hug like this, and their bodies are way apart. It's kind of like, oh, just have a good bear hug. You know what I mean?
Feeling is the way we were brought up.
I know.
She's, you know, she's very supportive and she's very positive. And you know, I'm really lucky. I'm really thankful for that too. And there's nothing that I can't talk to her about. Or, you know, if I bring my girlfriend home, she's wonderful. She's been very supportive. And in fact, I was in a relationship and it broke up, and she was very upset and very hurt. It was as if we were, you know, it's like a regular heterosexual couple, and she felt a loss when we split up. And it's interesting because I met somebody a year ago, and we've been seeing each other ever since. It's a long distance thing, but she comes from a culture that is very unsupportive of her sexuality, and she lives in a lot of fear about being gay, about her choices. And I actually felt I had no other choice but to end the relationship, because she just doesn't know who she is, what she wants. She's just not comfortable with that. She's got some real challenges there. And I can't deal with it. I can't deal with her not being able to just be herself. Although I understand, you know, that she comes from a culture that it's almost, in fact, is dangerous if she were to come out. But it's just the way it is. So I guess if I had any message to send out, it would be to be yourself. Things have a funny way of working themselves out. There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of fear. but in the end, you've got one person to answer to, and that's yourself. That's about it.
I'm glad we got together today as parents, family, and friends of lesbians and gays, because we can discuss some of the issues that come up during some of the meetings.
Yeah.
PFLAG has all kinds of support mechanisms for people who are struggling with dealing with issues around sexuality and around coming out issues. What kind of things do you talk about in PFLAG?
Well, what we have also that you didn't mention is resources. We've got a lot of resources. Yeah. So we would have books that could be for adults, books for children. There's quite a library of books for children. And we have films, and we also get speakers.
Really?
So,
what kind of speakers have you had?
Well, we would have somebody from York University or U of T, and they would come and speak about the history of gays and lesbians. Oh. We've had a speaker from the Metropolitan Community Church of Toronto, and they've spoken about the church and what a welcoming church it is for gays and lesbians and for all people, really.
Yeah, and we even had the police come and talk one evening.
Right, they talked, and they were very supportive of our group. So we were represented by the police and by the public health department, by the boards of education. The public board was there representing, actually it was the director came that night.
What I really discovered, as I didn't know before, is that gay people, lesbian, men or women, they absolutely are the same as we are.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's only a year since I exposed myself, thanks to my friend Marilyn Byers, to this new world, and it's one revelation after another to me. Mm-hmm. And well, I can go on and on, but I let.
But Betty, wait a minute. You just said you exposed yourself to the world, but you're a straight woman, are you not?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so that's.
But out of curiosity, it's nice to learn how other people feel, live, and relate to the world I am into.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Like you're just
no,
you're finding friends in the community, and this is the first time. Like, what does it mean to expose yourself to the community?
I expose myself, which means that I knew about homosexuality and so on, just from a distance. Mm-hmm. I accepted them as I accept everybody else. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any race, any religion, but homosexuality is something I didn't give much thought. Yeah. I accepted it, I didn't think much about it. Yeah. Till I didn't feel any way about it. Just in the neutral. I was in neutral gear.
That's very common. You know, for a lot of people, it's when a family member, a loved one, or someone they work with comes out to them, then all of a sudden it's like they start thinking of all these issues that they never thought of before. Mm-hmm. And they often realize that we're just like everyone else.
What's that joke he told?
What did he say? He came actually from Montreal, and he was in a congregation there, and they gave him kind of trouble. The board of directors asked him if he is gay, if he's a practicing gay homosexual. So he answered very calmly, well, I think I'm good at it already.
No practice needed.
That's great, that's great.
Oh my! Isn't it strange that people will say, well, they direct themselves onto the three-letter word that's in homosexual, which is sex, S-E-X, but it's also there in heterosexual, and they don't seem to do it with that. Yeah. So I don't know why they seem to, because being gay involves the wholeness of the person.
Spectrum.
Yeah, the whole spectrum. You're right.
Often, in order to affect change, there's many different avenues that are effective, and some people who are out at work are fighting our battle in that way. Other people who are out to their families or their neighbors, or people who stay in traditional mainstream churches and fight for their rights within that organization are advancing the cause. And other people who advance it other ways on Pride Day, it's a different way of getting to the same end. And I think we need all of those ways in the wonderful diversity of the organization, of the community, in order to get where we want to go. And the more people pulling the many different ways, the better it will be.
I've been involved in PFLAG for over 2 years, and I see the invaluable experience that people can get and the great need that there is for PFLAG York Region and all PFLAG groups. It has helped so many people, parents, families, friends, sisters, people that are just coming out, people that are too afraid to come out. I've seen people with hurt and pain. Actually, there's 40% of the street kids downtown that are throwaway kids because they've come home and told their parents they're gay and they've told them to get out of the house. So it's important for education, because through education comes understanding, and hopefully through understanding comes acceptance. And so we do need PFLAG groups. Thank you.
I guess if I had any message to send out, it would be to be yourself. Things have a funny way of working themselves out. There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of fear. But in the end, you've got one person to answer to, and that's yourself. That's about it.
I'm hoping that if there's one message I can get across to everyone out there, gay people, lesbians, parents, families, and friends of gays and lesbians, is just acceptance and love. My quote of life is, love has no boundaries, and I'm really a firm believer. If you love someone, you're with them, and it doesn't matter of their title. It's an international, worldwide feeling, and I think it's really important for people to understand and realize that, and from there, they should be able to just live in harmony and accept your friends and family.
It's important that you know that I'm a lesbian. It's important to me that you're in my life in a really big way, and you support me, and that you hang out with my friends and you like to do stuff with me. And it just feels like there's a whole part of me that you know, not just this little tiny part of me, you know, because I feel more holistic. You know, there's all of me, and I feel like, and I know that you love me for who I am, not who I am pretending to be. So for all those years that I wasn't out to you, there was a whole part of me that I just hid, you know. So it's really important, and I guess in some ways, I mean, I've said this before, but I guess what I'm saying is thanks for accepting me.
Oh, love you, Mimi Momo.
Oh God, don't call me that.
These are just a few of the stories that I've heard, and I think you can understand why, as a writer and director, I've been so moved by them. With your support, we can make this project happen, and we can bring it to the kind of widespread public attention it deserves. Thanks a lot.